I see what I was saying about Charlie before. Very good. Next speaker is Chad Kent. And he, for the last 5 years, has been teaching audiences how fun the Constitution can be. So that's an interesting way. You know, it's a good thing to make these documents not a living document in the sense of that the left terms it, but a living document in the sense that it can be interactive and fun to learn about the founding principles of this country, to remind people about the idea of America. Chad Kent out of Rockford has been doing this for the last 5 years, and I hope you'll help me welcome him here today. Chad.
As it turns out, there's a step there. Always good to come up on the stage before you speak. Lesson number 1. All right, it is awesome to be here at Freedom Fest. And what goes better with freedom than the Constitution? Right? A couple of weeks ago, Claire came to me and she said, I want you to come to Freedom Fest and I want you to make sure that everybody there understands exactly why the Constitution matters. And I said, you came to the right place. I can do that. She said, you have 7 minutes. I said, I can do that. So buckle up, because it's going to be a really interesting 6 minutes and 23 seconds. And Judy's keeping me honest, so you know I'll get yanked off if I don't do it. All right. Our freedom matters because it is the single greatest blessing that God can grant us in this life. It is the source of everything that we love to do, anything that we really enjoy doing in our life. Every really great experience that we have in our life has at its source the fact that we are free. And our Constitution was designed specifically to protect that freedom. So what that means is, anytime that our government or our politicians violate that Constitution or ignore that Constitution, it puts your freedom and the great life that we are living today in danger. That is why the Constitution matters. So what I want to do with you today is do just a really quick illustration to help you see why it is, or how exactly when we violate that Constitution, how it impacts your life on a personal level. So I talked to Michelle ahead of time, and she said that she would be my guinea pig. All right. Now, if you can't see, I'm going to put three bowls on the front. I know somebody in the back can't see it, but I'm going to give you put three bowls in the front. All right, Michelle, what I want you to do is I want you to take those ping pong balls. I gave her a bowl of ping pong balls, and I want you to put all of them in that bowl right there. Okay, that's your final answer. That's what you're going with. Okay, who here that can see the bowls thinks that Michelle did it correctly? All right. So, who thinks that Michelle did that correctly? Alright, what do you think if I were to grab a couple of them, put them in Claire's bowls? Would I have done it correctly? What if I would take one of these balls and throw it out there? Now would I have done it correctly? Common sense, right? You're all asking yourself, why are we doing this? This is stupid, it's too simple, right? But believe it or not, our Supreme Court would tell you that I did it correctly. You can put those down. Thank you, Michelle. They would tell you that I was the one that did it correctly. The very first line of the Constitution. So I did some serious digging here. The first line of the Constitution, Article 1, Section 1, says, all legislative power herein granted shall be vested in a Congress. Now, just to be clear, just so that we're all on the same page, Webster's 1828 dictionary defines legislative to mean giving or enacting laws, capable of enacting laws, or pertaining to the enacting of laws. So Article 1, Section 1 of the Constitution says that all of the power in the Constitution to create laws is given to Congress. So with these bowls, let's imagine that they represent the three branches of government and the balls are legislative power. If we took just one of those balls and put it in the executive branch bowl, would that be okay? No. Would that be constitutional? No. Of course not! All legislative power means all legislative power. This is not rocket science. And yet, the Supreme Court tells us that all doesn't really mean all. It kind of means most, or a good portion of, or some. And to beat that, the people who make that argument are the same ones who say that you are not smart enough to understand how to interpret the Constitution. Figure that out. So, despite how obvious, despite how clear this particular section of the Constitution is, our courts and our government allow executive agencies that are part of the executive branch to make laws, pass regulations. That's what they mean when they say pass regulations, they mean make laws. I always say, and I've had people argue, well, it's a regulation, it's not a law. Do you have to follow regulations? Yeah. If you don't, do they come and get you and fine you? Yeah. Okay, it's a law. Okay, so they allow these executive agencies in the executive branch to make laws, and they tell us that's okay. But it's not. And I'll tell you why very quickly. Actually, let me tell you one more thing. By the way, they are passing these things so fast that they can't count them. I meant to tell you this. What? Oh, voter ID is one of those. There it is. In any event, they're passing these things so fast they can't even count them. The Department of Justice, back in the 90s, did a study. They wanted to find out how many regulations there are. How many regulations have these executive agencies passed? They did all their studies, they did a bunch of work, they spent a bunch of time on this, and came back to it with a conclusion. Not possible to count them. Alright? But that clause of the Constitution says what it says for a reason. It was designed to protect your freedom. Because the way the Constitution was written, it makes a very cumbersome lawmaking process. It takes a long time to pass a law. So if that naturally limits the size of the government, because if it takes a long time to pass a law, there's only so many hours in the day, they can only pass so many laws. But we're not doing that anymore. We're allowing laws to be passed by executive agencies. And there are thousands of these agencies. And they exist solely to create these regulations and enforce them. And now they are able to create an infinite number of laws. That's why they now have enough time to send FDA agents around to harass those rowdy Amish people and their raw milk that's threatening everybody. And to send EPA agents around to tell you what kind of light bulbs you need to use to light your apartment or your home and all those other things. Those are just two examples. Imagine how the other hundreds of thousands of uncountable regulations are affecting your personal life. You start to see why the Constitution matters? All that intrusion just because we ignored one word in one clause of our Constitution. Our Constitution, as hopefully you've just seen, was designed very specifically to protect your freedom. It was designed to give you the greatest amount of freedom possible. It was designed to give you the greatest amount of control over your own personal life as possible. And for the last 223 years, it has been doing exactly that, better than any system of government in the history of the world. And that is why the Constitution matters. All in under 7 minutes. Now, how did we do? God bless you all, and God bless America. Thank you.